What scared me most wasn't the memory loss. It was how quietly it crept in. One day, I could recall phone numbers with ease. The next, I couldn't remember why I had walked into the kitchen. And it wasn't just my mind. My vision started slipping too. I'd wake up and everything looked hazy. Not the outside world, but my own eyes. As if someone had turned down the brightness of life. 10 minutes. 15. Sometimes half an hour before the fog cleared. I thought it was normal. That after 60, these things just happen. Blurry vision, brain fog, names on the tip of my tongue, but staying just out of reach. I accepted it for a while. Told myself it was aging. Part of the deal. Until I found out something that changed everything. A recent study showed that over 92% of people my age are missing at least one key nutrient that helps the brain and eyes rebuild themselves while we sleep. Not during the day, but at night, while we rest. That was the moment it all clicked. I wasn't broken. I was simply missing the tools my body needed to repair itself. And I couldn't help but wonder, how many of us are waking up tired, unfocused, dry-eyed, not because we're too old, but because our body was never given the right support in the first place? The scary part is, I never heard anyone talk about this. Not my doctor. Not my friends. Not even the health articles I used to read. So I started asking questions. What if this isn't just aging? What if this is something I can change, not with pills or surgeries, but with something smaller, something closer, like what I put into my glass? That's when I discovered the power of simple juices. Natural, unprocessed, timed just right to match the rhythm of the brain and the eyes. Within a week, things started shifting. My mind felt lighter in the morning. The fog didn't stay as long. My eyes adjusted faster. And most of all, I felt a quiet hope coming back. That's why I'm making this video. Not to sell you a miracle, but to share what no one told me. That memory loss and blurry vision don't always have to get worse. Sometimes they're just signals, asking you to nourish your system, to give your body a chance. So before we go further, here's what I want you to do. Take out a small notebook or open a note on your phone. Write down one symptom you've noticed this past week. Maybe it's forgetting someone's name. Maybe it's waking up with dry eyes. Maybe it's zoning out mid-conversation. Write it down, because over the next few minutes, we're going to connect that symptom to what your brain and eyes are really missing. And once you see that link, everything will start to make sense. I used to think sleep was just for rest. That if I could make it through the night without waking up, then my body must be fine. But the truth is, I was sleeping 8 hours and still waking up tired. Eyes dry. Mind foggy. As if nothing inside me had truly reset. It didn't make sense until I learned something most people never hear. The brain doesn't repair itself during the day. It heals at night, while we sleep. That's when your neurons clear out the waste. That's when your retina flushes toxins. That's when memory traces are stitched together and stored. But here's the problem. Repair takes raw materials. And if those materials aren't there, the brain and eyes simply can't do their job no matter how long you sleep. A recent study showed that over 92% of people over 65 are missing at least one critical nutrient that supports this repair cycle. Not because of poor diets, but because the foods we eat don't always supply what our aging systems can absorb, especially at night, when it matters most. Think about it. If your brain is like a construction site, sleep is the time when workers show up to fix what's broken. But without the right tools, they just stand around, waiting, unable to work. That's what was happening inside me. I was giving myself rest, but not the resources to rebuild. And the signs were everywhere. I'd read the same paragraph twice before it stuck. I'd reach for the wrong word mid-sentence. Or forget what day of the week it was. At first, I laughed it off. But eventually, it started to hurt. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't fully present anymore, like parts of me were stuck in slow motion or not showing up at all. So I asked myself, what if this is fixable? What if instead of asking for more sleep, I gave my body what it needed to actually use that sleep? And the answer wasn't in a capsule. It was in the kitchen. I discovered that certain natural juices rich in vitamins, antioxidants, and plant compounds can help supply the exact nutrients the brain and eyes need to repair overnight. And when taken at the right times, they work in sync with your body's natural rhythm. That's when things started changing for me. Not overnight, but gradually. The fog lifted sooner in the morning. The words came back faster. My eyes didn't feel like sandpaper by lunchtime. And I could feel something reconnecting, like the lights were slowly turning back on. I'm not saying juice is a miracle, but for me, it was the missing piece. And I want you to experience that shift too. So tonight, after you write down your symptom, I want you to do one more thing. Go to your fridge. Pick one juice, even if it's just plain carrot. Pour a small glass and drink it an hour before bed. Nothing fancy. No measuring. Just one act of care for your brain and for your eyes. Because that's how healing starts. Not with noise, but with one quiet decision repeated daily until the fog lifts. The first juice I tried wasn't exotic. It wasn't expensive. It was something I had overlooked for years. Carrot juice. I know it sounds almost too simple, but sometimes the simplest things carry the most power. I started drinking it because my mornings were getting worse. Blurry vision. Dry eyes. Letters on a screen that looked like they were melting into each other. And what hit me the hardest was when I started avoiding books, avoiding texts, avoiding the very things that once brought me joy. That's when I learned something important. The retina, the part of your eye responsible for capturing light, relies heavily on one vitamin, vitamin A. And carrots are rich in beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A. Without enough of it, the photoreceptor cells in your retina begin to weaken. That's what leads to night blindness, slow adaptation to light, and eventually that dull, dry feeling behind the eyes. But that's not all. Carrots also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two pigments stored in the macula, the part of your eye that gives you sharp, central vision. The kind you use to read, recognize faces, see details. And when you're over 60, those pigments begin to decline. Unless you feed them. Carrot juice does just that. And the benefits don't stop at your eyes. It turns out carrots also contain a compound called falcarinol, which has been shown to reduce inflammation in brain tissue and protect the outer membrane of neurons. That means better signaling, faster recall, sharper memory. One study found that older adults who drank carrot juice every morning for 8 weeks improved their visual memory by 13%. Now that may not sound like much, but for me, that was the difference between forgetting someone's name and remembering where I left my glasses. It gave me back my footing. But there's one more detail you should know. Carrot juice is fat-soluble, which means your body absorbs it best when paired with a little healthy fat. So, here's what I did. Every morning, right after waking up, I juiced 2 or 3 medium carrots. Sometimes I added a slice of ginger for warmth, or a splash of lemon for brightness. Then I drank it alongside a small slice of whole grain toast with avocado, or just a handful of walnuts. Nothing fancy, but it made a difference. My eyes adjusted faster. My head felt clearer. And slowly, I started reading again. Without frustration. Without pain. If you want to try this, you don't need a juicer. You can blend the carrots with a bit of water, strain it through a cloth, and drink it fresh. The key is consistency, not perfection. So tomorrow morning, try this. Juice or blend 2 carrots. Drink it with something that contains healthy fat, like a few almonds or half an egg. Do it for 7 days and write down what you notice. Even if it's just one thing. Maybe your screen doesn't sting. Maybe you remember a phone number faster. Maybe the world just looks a little more awake. That's your sign that something inside you is beginning to repair. By the 2nd week, I started to notice something else. My mind didn't just feel clearer in the morning, it stayed clearer longer. I wasn't hitting that wall at 2 in the afternoon, where everything slowed down, where reading felt heavy, where focus just drifted. Instead, there was a steadiness, like my brain had more fuel to burn. That's when I introduced beet juice. I'll admit, I wasn't a fan of the taste at first. It's earthy, strong, almost too bold. But what it did inside me was powerful. You see, most people don't think about blood flow when they think about memory or eyesight. But they should. Because your brain and your eyes are 2 of the hungriest organs in your body, and their fuel is oxygen. Without enough oxygen, your memory gets foggy. Your focus weakens. Your eyes tire faster. And healing slows to a crawl. Beets are rich in dietary nitrates, and when you drink beet juice, those nitrates turn into nitric oxide, a natural compound that tells your blood vessels to open up. That means more oxygen-rich blood going straight to your brain and straight to your eyes. A study published in the journal Nitric Oxide found that older adults who drank beet juice daily improved blood flow to the frontal lobe, the part of your brain that helps you focus, solve problems, and react quickly. In just 4 weeks, they performed better on cognitive tests. They even had faster reaction times. And that's not all. Nitric oxide also protects the tiny blood vessels in your eyes, the ones responsible for feeding the retina, keeping it nourished, preventing age-related damage. Another study showed that beet juice helped preserve retinal thickness even under oxidative stress. But what I love most is how fast it works. Unlike other nutrients that take days to build up, nitric oxide levels rise within 30 minutes of drinking beet juice. For me, that meant less eye strain by afternoon and better mental clarity right when I used to feel the fog set in. Here's how I did it. Every other day in the early afternoon, I juiced 1 medium raw beet. Sometimes I added half an orange or a small apple, just to balance the taste. I drank it slowly, usually around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, right when my energy started to dip. And sometimes I followed it with a short walk to help the blood really move. If you want to try this, start with half a beet the first time. See how your body reacts, then increase gradually. Write down what you feel after. Do your eyes feel less tired? Are you still alert at 4 p.m.? Can you read a little longer without rubbing your temples? That's your measure. That's your signal that blood is finally getting where it needs to go. You don't need a lot, just a glass, every other day, in the right window. It can begin to turn that sluggish afternoon into a second sunrise. There's something special about the evening. It's quiet. The light softens. And everything slows down. But for a while, evenings made me uneasy. Because that's when I noticed the gaps most. The moments where I couldn't remember what I had said earlier, or where I left my glasses, or what I just watched on TV. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, but it was real. And it made me wonder, was my brain just tired, or was something deeper slipping away? That's when I started learning about something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's a protein, and it helps your brain do something amazing. Grow new neurons, build new connections, literally reshape itself. Think of BDNF like fertilizer, but for your brain. And you know what helps increase BDNF naturally? Blueberries. Not in a pie. Not in sugar-filled snacks. But in their purest form as juice. Blueberries are one of the richest natural sources of anthocyanins, a deep purple antioxidant that crosses the blood-brain barrier and tells your brain it's time to repair. One study found that older adults who drank wild blueberry juice daily for 12 weeks had better memory recall, faster processing speed, and even showed increased brain activity on MRI scans. But this wasn't just science for me. This became personal, because a few weeks into my routine, I added blueberry juice in the evenings about 90 minutes before bed. And something shifted. I stopped rereading the same sentence 3 times. I started remembering where I left things. And conversations felt smoother, like I could hold on to the thread again. It wasn't a miracle, but it was unmistakable. Here's how I did it. I took 1 cup of frozen wild blueberries, blended them with a little water. Sometimes I added half a banana for creaminess, sometimes just a squeeze of lemon. No sugar, no additives, just real fruit. And I drank it slowly, usually while winding down, before turning off the lights. If you're going to try this, make sure it's at least an hour before bed. That gives the anthocyanins time to reach your brain, to signal the night shift crew to get to work. And if you're tracking your progress, here's what to look for. Do you find your thoughts feel smoother in the morning? Do you recall conversations more clearly? Do you feel less scattered by the end of the day? Even one of those means something is working. You've added the signal. You've nourished the roots. And your brain is quietly responding. There's something no one tells you about getting older. It's not just what you eat that matters, it's what your body can absorb and when. I used to think that if I drank enough water, ate enough fruits and vegetables, and got 8 hours of sleep, then everything would take care of itself. But even after doing all the right things, my memory still slipped. My eyes still felt heavy. And my mind still drifted more than it used to. I felt like I was doing everything right and still losing ground. That's when I realized something important. As we age, our digestion slows. Our circulation becomes less efficient. And the tiny blood vessels that deliver nutrients to the brain and retina can get stiff or narrowed. That means, even if you're eating well, your brain and eyes might not be getting what they need, especially at night. When those systems rely on a clean delivery line, think of it like a garden. You can have the best soil and the strongest seeds, but if the water hose is clogged, nothing grows. I saw this in myself. My vision wasn't just blurry in the morning, it stayed dull through the day. My thinking wasn't just slow at night, it lagged even after coffee. And deep down, I started to feel disconnected from my own mind. Like there was a delay between what I wanted to think and what I could actually find. That's when I stopped focusing only on the nutrients and started paying attention to the timing and the flow. Your body has rhythms, natural waves of activity and rest, absorption and elimination, brain waves and digestive cycles. And when you align what you drink with when your body is ready to receive, things begin to shift. That's why the juices I've shared aren't just about content, they're about timing. Carrot in the morning, beet in the afternoon, blueberry at night. Each one matched to a specific window where your body is most ready to use it. That alignment, that rhythm, that's what I had been missing. And once I found it, things didn't just get better, they started to build on each other. Clarity led to energy. Energy led to movement. Movement led to confidence. And confidence brought me back to the version of myself I missed. So if you've been doing everything right and still feeling stuck, still blurry, still forgetful, please know it's not your fault. Your body may just be out of sync, trying its best, but not getting the signal at the right time. The good news? You can reset that rhythm with small, daily changes matched to the right moment. So tonight, when you prepare your next glass, think about the timing. Ask yourself, what part of me needs this now? And how can I make it easier for my body to receive? That question alone can change everything. Some days, it wasn't just my memory or vision that felt off, it was my mood. I'd sit at the table, sipping tea, staring out the window, and feel flat. Not sad, just dull. Like someone had turned the color down on everything. And my eyes matched that feeling. Things weren't blurry exactly, but they lacked contrast. Edges seemed softer. Shadows blended into light. Reading felt like squinting into fog. I didn't realize those two things, my mood and my vision, were connected until I found spinach juice. It's not the first thing most people think of when it comes to the brain or the eyes. But spinach is one of the most powerful and most overlooked healing foods I've found. It's rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, two compounds stored right in the macula, the central part of the retina that helps you see details, like words on a page, facial expressions, or the fine edge between dark and light. As we age, those compounds decline. And when that happens, so does our contrast sensitivity. That's why signs get harder to read, why faces look washed out, why night driving becomes stressful. But spinach doesn't just protect the eye, it helps repair it. One study showed that higher blood levels of lutein and zeaxanthin were directly linked to faster visual processing and better contrast sensitivity in older adults. And the brain benefits are just as powerful. Spinach is loaded with folate, a B vitamin that supports the production of dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals that help us feel alert, balanced, motivated. When folate levels are low, we feel foggy, disconnected, even depressed. In fact, low folate has been linked to memory decline in people over 60. And spinach has another quiet gift, vitamin K. It supports the membranes around brain cells and helps form myelin, the protective sheath that allows signals to travel quickly between neurons. For me, spinach juice was like wiping the dust off a mirror. I started drinking it mid-morning, after breakfast, blending a handful of fresh spinach with a green apple or half a cucumber, sometimes with a splash of lemon. Light, bright, gentle on the stomach. And day by day, colors looked sharper. Text was easier to read. And that grayness in my thoughts began to fade. Not overnight, but enough to notice. If you want to try this, start small. 1 handful of spinach, blended with water or light fruit. Drink it mid-morning or before lunch. Not on an empty stomach, not with a heavy meal. Let it land softly. Let your body take it in, and over time, notice what shifts. Are the shadows clearer? Are your thoughts quicker? Do you feel more present in your own head? That's not an accident. That's nourishment finally getting where it belongs. As I built this routine, I realized something simple, but powerful. Not every day needs to look the same. Not every juice has to be part of your daily plan. Some come and go, like gentle supports whispering help exactly when you need it. That's how I began rotating 3 more juices, each with its own gift, each one meeting me in a different moment. The first was grape juice. Not the sugary kind from the store, but dark purple grapes, full of polyphenols, especially one called resveratrol. I started drinking a small glass of it in the afternoon, whenever I felt mentally scattered, like I had too many tabs open in my brain. One study showed that older adults who drank Concord grape juice for 12 weeks improved their verbal learning, their memory, even their attention span. It's not loud or flashy, but it helps clear mental static. And on days when my mind felt too full, grape juice gave me space to think again. The second was pomegranate. Deep red, slightly tart, a symbol of vitality across centuries. I brought it in after reading a study that showed it helped stabilize memory in older adults, especially visual memory, the kind we use to navigate, to recognize patterns, to recall where we left things. For me, pomegranate juice became a quiet evening ritual. Just a few sips, a small glass after dinner, and I'd feel more anchored, more steady inside my thoughts. It didn't fix everything, but it softened the edges of forgetfulness. The third was cranberry. Not just for urinary health like many people think, but as a source of proanthocyanidins, natural compounds that support circulation and reduce inflammation. I found that on days when my eyes felt swollen, or when screen time left me drained, a small glass of cranberry juice in the late morning helped settle the irritation. It wasn't magic, but it was soothing like a cool cloth for the brain. I don't drink all three every day, but I keep them in rotation, swapping them in based on how I feel, what I need, what my body asks for. Because healing isn't rigid. It's responsive. And the more I listen, the more clearly I hear what's missing. So if you're building your own plan, start with 1 or 2 juices. Then introduce these 3 slowly. Notice when they help and make them part of your rhythm. Here's what I suggest. Try grape juice when your thoughts feel tangled. Pomegranate when your memory feels slippery. Cranberry when your eyes or focus feel inflamed. Just a small glass, 3 times a week, is enough to make a difference. No pressure. No perfect schedule. Just presence. And trust that the more you nourish what's inside, the more it begins to wake up. When I started this journey, I didn't have a plan. Just a glass, a guess, and a little bit of hope. But as the days turned into weeks, I began to see a rhythm forming a pattern. And I realized, if I could build a simple routine, something realistic, I might finally give my brain and my eyes the consistent care they had been waiting for. So I built a plan. Not strict, not rigid, but gentle, adaptable, something I could actually live with. Here's how it looked for me and how you can shape your own. In the first 2 weeks, I focused on just 2 juices. Carrot in the morning, blueberry at night. I wanted to feel the difference clearly, to listen without noise. To notice how my vision and memory responded when I changed nothing else. And they did. Weeks 3 and 4, I added beet juice in the afternoon every other day. That's when the real shift began. My energy held longer. My focus sharpened. My screen time stopped hurting. Weeks 5 through 8, that's when I began rotating in spinach, grape, pomegranate, and cranberry. Not all at once, just based on the day, how I felt, what I needed. Some days, I stuck to one. Other days too. But never more. Because healing doesn't need clutter. It needs clarity. And along the way, I tracked things. Not obsessively, just small signs that something inside was changing. I stood on one leg while brushing my teeth. At first, 20 seconds. By week 6, I could hold for 40. I timed how long I could read without rubbing my eyes. At first, 5 minutes. By the end of the 2nd month, I was back to my crossword puzzles again. I wrote down how I felt waking up from foggy and slow to clear and alert. These weren't miracles, but they were milestones. And each one told me that my body wasn't giving up, it was responding. So if you're wondering where to start, here's my suggestion. Week 1, start with carrot juice in the morning and blueberry juice at night. Track your symptom from part 1. Week 2, do the same, but write down any change, even the smallest one. Week 3, add beet juice in the afternoon, just 3 times per week. Week 4, introduce spinach juice mid-morning on the days you don't have beet. Weeks 5 through 8, choose one of the bonus juices. Grape, pomegranate, or cranberry. Rotate it in gently 2 to 3 times per week, according to what your body needs. And as you go, track your progress. You can use your phone, a notebook, or even a simple checklist. How many seconds can you balance on one leg? How many minutes can you read without fatigue? How clear is your vision in the first 10 minutes after waking up? How many names or details do you recall at the end of the day? Because when you track what matters, you start to believe it's possible. Not because someone said so, but because you felt it. You saw it. You lived it. And that belief is the real foundation for healing. If you've made it this far, thank you. It tells me something important. You're not here for a quick fix. You're here because you believe, or at least hope, that your mind still matters, that your vision still has purpose, that your best days might not be behind you after all. And I believe that too, because I've seen it in myself and in others. People who thought it was too late, who accepted that forgetting names, losing focus, or living in a blur was just the cost of aging. But it's not. It's the cost of giving up too soon. And you haven't. You've learned that memory loss and blurry vision aren't always signs of failure. Sometimes they're just signals your body whispering, I need help, I need nourishment, I need rhythm. And now, you know how to answer. With a glass in the morning, with a choice in the afternoon, with a quiet sip before sleep. Not every day will feel perfect. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll feel stuck. But healing isn't about being perfect. It's about returning again and again to small decisions that say, I still care, I still trust, I still believe in myself. So here's what I want you to do now. Keep going. Pick one juice and stick with it this week. Track one change, even if it's just how you feel in the morning or how long you can hold your balance. And if you've noticed even the tiniest shift, please share it. In the comments, tell me which juice you tried. Tell me what you felt. Tell me what surprised you. Because your story might be the sign someone else is waiting for. The quiet nudge that reminds them they're not alone. They're not broken. They're simply not done yet. And if this video gave you something helpful, a bit of knowledge, a bit of hope, or just a reason to start, I'd be honored if you'd tap the like button, subscribe for more gentle, science-backed ideas, and share this with someone you care about. Because healing is not something we do alone. It happens in community, in conversation, in small steps we take together. And I hope, wherever you are right now, you feel a little more seen, a little more steady, and a lot more possible. This is your body, your brain, your life. And it's not too late. It's never too late to see clearly again, to remember fully again, to trust yourself again. So let's keep going. Let's keep learning. Let's keep healing one glass at a time.